More pitchers are hurt, and the Cubs are hot. Let's break it down on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5. Today is Tuesday, April 18th. I am Frank Sanford, joined by Scott White, and we had some more pitcher injuries on Monday night, and that includes Jacob deGrom, who left his start with right wrist soreness. He had thrown 4 no-hit innings before that. The Rangers called it precautionary. Corbin Burns left his start in the 6th inning and was seen grabbing his chest when he was leaving the mound with trainers. Hunter Greene left Monday's start after taking a comebacker off the shin and was diagnosed with a right tibia contusion. X-rays were negative, and Greene is hopeful that he will make his next start. Scott, thoughts on the latest round of injuries, deGrom, Burns, and Greene?
I'm most concerned about Burns, just the way that whole scene played out, where he immediately signaled for the trainer and he was grabbing at his chest, as you pointed out, Frank. I think, some kind of pectoral injury, which would require a pretty lengthy absence. Of course, I don't know. I'm just speculating, and we need to wait to find out. But between those 3 injuries, that's the most concerning. The least concerning is Hunter Greene. X-rays were negative. It's just a contusion. He expects to make his next start. Out of an abundance of caution, maybe the Reds throw him on the IL, but I imagine it'll be a minimal stay. And deGrom, that was said to be a precaution, removing him for a wrist injury, which is not something we've worried about with deGrom in the past. The wrist, it's not something we worry about for pitchers in general. So I'm not that worried about it, but deGrom is deGrom, and you always have to wonder when the next shoe is going to drop with him.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about those Cubs who are off to a nice start, 9-6, and we'll start off with the pitcher who bounced back in a big way, Hayden Wesneski. 7 innings of 1-run ball with 7 strikeouts to 0 walks, 11 swinging strikes on 90 pitches, and he did throw his sweeper more in this start. He used it 41% of the time. Scott, Wesneski is 50% rostered at the Dodgers this weekend, but then it looks like his next 2 starts after that would be the Marlins and the Nationals, which are fantastic matchups.
Yeah, this Dodgers start coming up is a big test for Wesneski, because if he follows up on this Oakland performance against that lineup, then I think everybody who is out is going to suddenly be back in on Wesneski. And he did some interesting things. Obviously it was an easy opponent at Oakland, but there are underlying reasons here to suggesting that maybe he figured something out. So he actually cut down on the velocity after seeing a big increase in spring training, and that carried into the regular season. And he got better results, throwing the ball closer to how he did last year, when, remember, he was a very stable option last September for the Cubs. So maybe he's better off with less velocity. Maybe this was by design with him. I don't know, but given the results, it would make sense. He also ditched the cutter, which was a pitch that was just getting pounded for him in those first 2 starts. So let's see how it goes against the Dodgers next time for Wesneski. But there are signs maybe he's figured it out.
Let's talk about the offense. Patrick Wisdom went 3 for 5 with a double dong and has now homered in 4 straight games, 5 homers during that time. 8 home runs total now, is tied for the league lead with Pete Alonso. And we know who Patrick Wisdom is. He's hitting the ball really hard. He does strike out quite a bit. 32% strikeout rate so far this season. He's 55% rostered. Scott, would you be adding Wisdom over names like J.D. Davis or Josh Young or Brett Beatty?
No, not over any of them. And I think you'd be hard-pressed to find someone who would add Patrick Wisdom over Beatty and Young. The more questionable one there is J.D. Davis. I feel like Davis has a higher floor than Wisdom. And, he showed it to us in 2019 when he was still at the Mets. I was very high on him going into 2020, but he kind of fell out of favor with the Mets. In that 2019 season, J.D. Davis hit 307 with 22 homers and an 895 OPS. Hasn't gotten the consistent playing time since then until now. He's playing a lot for the Giants, and he's 85th percentile there or thereabouts for both average exit velocity and max exit velocity. And the Giants have a good track record of getting these veteran retreads and bringing out the best in them. Wisdom has a lot of power. He's shown us that in the past. Has always had a good barrel rate, good exit velocities, just way too many strikeouts. And, if you're looking for positive signs that maybe he's turned the corner here, you can find them. But I think it's a bit of a stretch given the history for Wisdom. And more likely than not, he's going to regress to his usual very low batting average to go with that power.
Mm-hmm. I think it's really close between him and JD Davis. I think I trust Wisdom a little bit more just because the Giants are the Giants, and they usually find ways to platoon players and move them around and all that kind of crazy stuff, but it is close. We were going to talk about Cody Bellinger, but you know what? We don't have enough time. So if you want to find out more about him, then you need to listen to our full-length podcast, Fantasy Baseball Today, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we'll be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.